Okay, so I wanted to pop on to talk to you about some tricks, 6 simple questions that you can ask yourself if you notice that a pattern of unhelpful thinking is rooting around in your brain and making you feel more anxious. And so I'm going to start with this visual of the CBT Triangle, which outlines the relationship between the way that we think, the way that we feel, and the way that we act. And each of these pieces reciprocally interact with the other to develop a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle. And last time I talked about the power of thought and the power of our self-talk on regulating our feelings of anxiety, which are so natural to be feeling right now. So that was the reframe from I'm stuck at home being the thought, which can cause feelings of being out of control, feelings of being unsafe, feelings of being overwhelmed and super anxious, which then might make us cope in ways that aren't adaptive for us or that aren't healthy for us. Maybe it freezes us so that we feel like we're out of control and there's nothing that I'm doing well. To the simple reframe of, okay, I'm safe at home, which of course can mitigate that anxiety, bring it down, make you feel more in control, and then act more constructively. So a nice, easy reframe, but sometimes we have these we have these thoughts that pop up seemingly out of nowhere, and they elicit really, really strong emotional feelings, and so we attribute fact to that thought. And today I wanted to talk about if you're noticing that some unhelpful patterns of thinking, unhelpful thoughts are popping up, what can I do about it, right? What can I do about it at home when I'm not with my therapist? Or I'm left to my own devices. So I have 6 questions that you can ask yourself. And the example that I'm going to use today is the fear of giving a class presentation. I think that we've all been in a situation like that. And a person who is experiencing an unhelpful pattern of thinking might experience the thought that I know everybody's going to laugh at me and think that I'm stupid. And that would make me feel really anxious before going up to give the presentation if I think everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. And then I might not show up for school that day. I might stutter more, which might elicit some reaction where I'm thinking, see, I am really stupid. I feel more anxious. I feel more out of control. So I'm going to show you how to reframe that unhelpful pattern of thinking. So the first question is this a helpful thought? And the way that we can distinguish between a helpful and an unhelpful thought is really the way it makes us feel and the way that it makes us makes us act. So an unhelpful pattern of thinking makes us feel overwhelmed, makes us feel stressed, makes us feel not enough, makes us feel out of control. Whereas a helpful pattern of thinking might make us feel we might have to think through something difficult, but we have a greater sense of control in that sense. So me, let's say, giving this class presentation, and I think, everybody's going to think that I'm so stupid. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Is this helping me, my performance getting up there? It's making it way harder to get up there, right? So it's unhelpful. Now, the second question is, because sometimes we need to validate, or we often always have to validate our feelings and our concerns. So is there merit for the belief that everybody is going to laugh at me, okay? And when we talk about evidence for that thought, that supports that thought, we need to work really hard to distinguish opinion and feeling from evidence, right? So I think about this, if I were to go to a court and say to a judge, I feel like I just know that everybody's going to laugh at me. I just know it. I know it 100%. He wouldn't say, okay, well, there's your evidence. You're right. He would say, okay, that's an opinion and a feeling. And those opinions and feelings we can attribute fact to them because they elicit such strong emotional reactions that's kind of our body and our brain's natural reaction to those pieces. But really considering, okay, is there any evidence for this thought? And maybe I saw somebody get up and they screwed up their presentation and people laughed. So that might say like, okay, then there is a chance we can validate the fact that there is a chance that could happen. But then we also want to ask ourselves, what's the evidence against the thought? What's the evidence saying that actually probably people aren't going to think that you're stupid, and probably people aren't actually all going to laugh at you? And what's the evidence for that? Okay, well, let's talk about a time where you gave a presentation. Did the whole class laugh and call you a stupid idiot? No? Oh, you actually got a really good grade and nice feedback. Okay, that's one way to look at it. We can also look at, times that maybe you haven't been successful in a presentation, and that most of the time, especially in presentations, nobody's listening anyways, so they probably didn't even realize that you screwed up. So analyzing some of these pieces. The next is, okay, worst case scenario, what is it? And then how would I cope with it? How would I handle it if it happened? And maybe my worst case scenario is I stutter and then the whole class erupts in laughter and I just leave and I run to the bathroom crying, okay? What's the likelihood of that happening? The actual likelihood scale from 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, that the whole class bursts out into laughter, they all call me stupid, and I run out of the class. Maybe I'll say like, I don't know, like a 10% chance that that's going to happen. Okay, so actually lower than what the anxiety makes you feel, which is it's 100% a fact and it's 100% going to happen. And then we would ask, how would I cope in this situation? So what would I do if everybody burst? Oh my God, it would be so embarrassing. And I would probably cry too. It would be so much if that happened. But I still have to give my presentation. I know that the teacher really likes me, so the teacher would kind of have my back and would make sure that that didn't happen. So it's really not likely that it would happen. But if it did, it would really, really suck, but I'd have to keep going to school, and somebody else would make a mistake, and the heat would kind of be off my back after that. And then what I would do, lastly, is that I need to create a realistic but positive reframe about this. So it might be, okay, I can validate my feelings. So I can say that, yeah, I am really anxious. I'm really worried that people are going to laugh at me during this presentation. But you know what? I've given other presentations and classes. I've always gotten really good feedback from my teacher and from my peers. All I can do is my best, and chances are that nobody's actually listening except for the teacher, just because they have to grade me. I think I'm going to be okay. So thus, we can reframe that unhelpful thought of everybody's going to laugh at me, 100% sure, to this really sucks and I hate it, but I know I'm going to be okay. So to create a helpful cycle that helps you keeps you feeling good, and also keeps you acting in ways that you can be proud of. So I hope that these tips and tricks are helpful for you to work towards maintaining healthy patterns of thinking, forever, but at least for the immediate future. So thanks so much, and I will be back later. Okay.